This episode of The Edge is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek.fm at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the nonprofit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode, join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type BABEL into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
You're listening to Trek FM.
What have you done out there on the edge of Federation space?
Hello and welcome to Tracks from the Edge, Trek FM show in which we look at every episode, at least new episodes, of Star Trek and provide audio commentary for them. I'm Mike.
And I'm Max.
And today we're going to be taking a look at Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 5, Saints of Imperfection.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, that'd be a great name for this podcast, wouldn't it? I'm just thinking.
Saints of Imperfection. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, before we get into the episode, there is something that I did want to mention because, you know, we're the commentary Trek Star guys, and we like to talk about people who are creating Star Trek, etc. And we have some new Star Trek creators on the way, and along with a new Star Trek show on the way.
Yeah.
They just keep on making. I mean, how many is this now? We've got Picard. We've got
Picard show.
Section 31.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Lower Decks.
Lower Decks.
Starfleet Academy.
Is that still happening?
The Nicholas Meyer Khan show probably isn't happening. But then we've got this one, which is a new animated kids show, which will be on Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be created by two guys, Dan Hagman and Kevin Hagman.
All right.
No relation. They are a couple of people who have done a lot of stuff in the realm of animation. They are probably best known for being, I believe, the head writers on Troll Hunters, Tales of Arcadia, the Guillermo del Toro series.
Yeah.
Have you seen
I
it?
know. I've watched it. Yeah.
It's good.
For what it is, it's pretty good. It's a weird, kids adventure show with monsters and prophecies and stuff. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of like an animated version of Buffy, but instead of a girl, for a change of pace, it's a boy.
Anton Yelkin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It always seemed just kind of strange to me because it was like, it looks like, you're kind of like typical kids cartoon, but from Academy Award winner Guillermo del Toro. And then you think like, oh, okay, so Guillermo del Toro, he had an idea just like Steven Spielberg had an idea for like Tiny Toons. And Steven Spielberg said, here's an idea, guys, run with it. And then other people ran with it. And, then that's your second layer of, thinking like, okay, so that's happened. But then you look at the credits and you're like, oh, Guillermo del Toro directed a bunch of episodes of this animated kids show on Netflix. And it's like, what?
Yeah, I was about to start Tales of Arcadia too, but I showed it to my wife and she was like, I'm not into it. And I'm like, but there's so many cute things. And she just wasn't feeling it.
What's Tales of Arcadia 2?
Tales of Arcadia 2?
You just said I was about to start Tales of Arcadia 2.
Tales of Arcadia 2 as in as well.
Is that different from Troll Hunters?
They're different. They're two different shows.
Oh, so there was like one and then there was another?
It's not Troll Hunters : Tales of Arcadia. It's Troll Hunters and Tales of Arcadia.
According to IMDb, it's Troll Hunters: Tales of Arcadia, and it says the original title was Troll Hunters.
Well,
so maybe
like,
maybe they did like one of those things like they do with Gotham, where it's like Gotham, Nightfall,
maybe that's what it is. I mean, like
or
Tales of Arcadia is
Star
like,
Trek, Enterprise.
Isn't Tales of Arcadia the one where like they're aliens?
I don't. All
There's,
I know
like,
is
aliens.
the
Troll
IMDb.
Hunters are Troll Hunters and Tales of Arcadia connected somehow?
I think they're the same thing. It says Troll Hunters. There's 52 episodes. There's 3 seasons.
Okay, well, Troll Hunters is like supernatural, like monsters from Earth, and there's this other thing called like Three Below Tales of Arcadia,
I don't know what that is.
and that's like a separate show. If they're based on the same thing, that doesn't seem crazy.
I don't know what that is. But I see it here. It does look like it's the same. I don't know, man. Because they're both, Guillermo del Toro. So it looks like Three Below Tales of Arcadia is the spinoff.
That makes sense. I mean, I can see how they could be connected. It's just I didn't realize that they were.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Well, whatever. See, now I'm more...
It's not important.
Well, they didn't do the Three Below thing. They just did the Troll Hunters. So...
Okay.
They also wrote, prior to that, they wrote Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu.
Which I have not seen any of.
Yeah, I started to watch the first episode, which they wrote, and that association, apparently, with Ninjago landed them, I'm assuming, a gig writing the Lego movie, as well as the Lego Ninjago movie. They wrote the story, or they have story credit for both of those movies, which makes me think that they probably did like first drafts and then someone came in and rewrote them. But they also wrote the story for Hotel Transylvania, and
Which I have not seen.
it's good, and obviously Lego movie is good, and I just watched the Lego Ninjago movie a couple weeks ago, and it's good too.
Yeah, I heard it was well reviewed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'd say the weakest of the... Well, I haven't seen Lego Movie 2 yet, but the weakest of the original trilogy, but still decent. So...
All right.
So these guys are working on Star Trek. Certainly they're big players in the world of kids' cartoons. And, I am so relieved that we are going to be getting a Star Trek cartoon which won't be funny. I can now sleep well at night, again, with that knowledge.
Is this sarcasm?
This is sarcasm, yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
That's okay. So anyway, should we talk about the people who are making this show?
No, let's nail down this Arcadia thing. So the Troll Hunters and the aliens, like the town is called Arcadia. So it's just like weird stuff happens in Arcadia? Is that the idea?
I think that's it.
All right.
I'll have to watch them all and see.
All right, I guess so. They got to like at some point like get them all together and do a whole Avengers of Arcadia thing. That would be cool.
Yeah. And until then, all right. So with this episode of Star Trek Discovery, Saints of Imperfection, the episode is written by Kirsten Motherfracking Beyer, as she calls herself online, who wrote basically all of the Voyager novels, like post whatever, which post them getting home. Not all of them, but she jumped on like
that was the name of the final episode. It was Voyager whatever.
Yeah,
that's when they got home.
and she jumped in, I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 books in, and has written all of them since. She's still writing them, and a lot of people think that the work that she's doing is the best that Voyager's ever been. So there you go. She's also the liaison between Star Trek Discovery's writer's room and the CBS licensing stuff in terms of, like getting books and comics to tie in to Discovery, which is interesting considering how this particular episode seems to contradict some of those previous books. And it also, she's written some of the comics, and she wrote an episode last year, and she also is the person who came up with the concept for Picard's show. So she's on that staff now too.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, since we know nothing about Picard's show, like, she might have been the person who said, I bet Patrick Stewart would do something if we asked.
That could be. I don't know. But whatever it is, we're in her debt.
Mm-hmm.
The episode is directed by David Barrett, who directed an episode of Discovery last year, the Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad thing.
It's a really easy title to remember and say without stumbling over your words.
Yeah, there was the Harry Mudd time travel episode. I would say one of the best directed episodes of last year, and I think that carries over to this particular episode. And he also directed a random episode of Enterprise back in the day. So there you go.
Okay.
So, should we watch this thing?
Oh, yeah, let's watch this thing. All right, 3 Below, Tales of Arcadia. I'm ready to hit play.
Okay. So, we are approximately 8 seconds in on the U.S. CBS All Access feed, right after the CBS All Access logo cuts to black. And we are going to give a countdown and start this up in 3, 2, 1, start. Previously on Star Trek Discovery.
There's Giorgio, there's Ash Tyler Oak.
And there's the communicate. Well, it's gone now. And there's Burnham and Pike and Pad and okay, can't keep up.
So you pointed out the communicator in the previously on. So when we get to that moment in the episode, I can demonstrate how long it took me to figure out what was going on.
Where he's like, what type of communicator is that?
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean? What type of communicator is that? And like I put it together like way afterwards.
It's very not well cut together in that regard because you don't actually see him tap it. It's the equivalent of when Keanu gives Hugo Weaving the finger in The Matrix, and he's like, how about I give you the finger? And then he does, but you don't see it on camera. It's weird. It's a weirdly cut sequence. Anyway, hey, so I got a message from Brandon Mutala last week saying, oh, Max totally blew my mind by, revealing that Tilly never left the little pod.
Mm-hmm.
But I rewatched it, and I don't think you're right.
No, she never left the pod.
Okay, because one of the things that you say on the commentary is like, that's why there's no reaction shots of Tilly. Mm-hmm. There are reaction shots of Tilly, which makes me think that... Not
hallucinating, not with her eyes bugging out.
But with her looking like, distorting. What the hell is going on?
Yes, because they're looking at her and seeing what they think she's reacting to, but she's not stoned because she's not real.
Okay. I don't... I could see it going either way, but I don't necessarily think that there's enough evidence to suggest that you're right.
Yeah, they get hit by a cloud of spores and Tilly comes out. That is obviously part of the hallucination.
Could be.
Fine. Your scenario is so much more complicated.
If that's the case, then they should not have cut to that reaction shot of Tilly.
It's because they were looking at her.
No.
They were checking on her in that moment.
No, they weren't. That was the thing.
Okay.
It was Stamets and Reno dealing with stuff, and then they cut to a reaction shot of Tilly. They should not have cut to that reaction shot of Tilly. But whatever. It doesn't matter.
Fine.
Okay. So here they are chasing Spock's shuttlecraft, which is actually not Spock's shuttlecraft.
Well, I mean, it's not. I mean, it never was. He stole it. So, I mean, calling it Spock shuttlecraft. I mean,
Sure, but he's not on it. It's
yeah.
it's Emperor Giorgio.
Yeah, this part actually kind of annoys me because it's like another one of these, like, I mean, this is kind of Lost-ish, you know? It's like we're chasing a mystery and we get to it and we open it up and what's inside? Oh, it's someone we already know, and there's like a little line of exposition to explain why chasing this mystery was a dead end. So
Yeah, but
hey guys, stop doing that.
They have been chasing this mystery for like 2 or 3 episodes. You know, I mean that was one of people's main criticisms of The Last Jedi, was like the whole story with John Boyega. Like, it doesn't go anywhere.
No, my problem isn't that it doesn't go anywhere. My problem is that they keep saying Spock is just around the corner. Like, tune in, everybody. We're going to be seeing Spock next week because we know where his shuttlecraft is, and we're going to go get it.
No.
And then they go and they get it, and it just got away. And then, we're going to go. Oh, now we know where he is. Oh, there it is. Let's get it. Oh, it's gone again. Oh, and there it is. We got it. Oh, we bring it in. Let's look it up. Let's look inside. Oh, Giorgio is in there. So what have we been doing for 3 episodes?
That's definitely true. You know, they definitely have been sort of pulling us. What's the saying? Dragging us along, pulling us along. What's the saying? I don't know. There you can get a really good look at her shoes that are much longer than her feet.
Once again, wasn't looking.
I love this scene. I love this moment where everyone's like, Captain Giorgio, and then they put down their phasers, and Burnham's like, I'm not putting down my phaser, you know?
I mean, it's one of those situations where you know what's going on, and like, you know, like, I don't trust this person. I know that I can't say everything right now because it's classified. So another thing. All right. So the mirror universe is super classified, right? Mm-hmm. No one knows about the mirror universe. It's so super classified. Like, what could possibly be more super classified than the mirror universe, like, knowledge?
Yeah.
What could possibly be more classified than that? That's the question, honestly.
Section 31?
Oh, yeah, presumably, right? You'd think the only thing more secret than the mirror universe is Section 31. So they pull out a Section 31 badge, and Pike is like, oh, Section 31, yeah, those guys, yeah. Same page. Yeah, those guys. Whoa, those guys are tricky, man. You can't trust those guys. But at parties, great. I don't get why people know about this, because by the time we get to Deep Space Nine, people are like, I've never heard of this. This sounds made up. But now, like, some people just know about it.
Yeah. I mean, that's certainly, and it's sort of been trending that way ever since they were like, Section 31 has badges, you know, like that kind of thing. And here's the thing, which...
Yeah, like, if you're a secret organization, don't make apparel.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing with the... that you see in the trailer for Captain Marvel, right? But I guess here's the thing. I totally agree that it doesn't work, right? Continuity-wise. I do think that it's weird that in this episode they essentially accidentally created what could have been an out for them. Like, they say, like, oh, Section 31, that's a part of Starfleet intelligence, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So you say, like, privately, like when she's talking to, you know, Alan Van Sprang's character, forget his name, you say, like, oh, yeah, we're part of Section 31. you know? But whenever they're dealing with these guys, you're like, we're Starfleet intelligence, you know? Hey, we're working with Starfleet intelligence. That's not a Section 31 communicator. That's a Starfleet intelligence communicator. This is a Starfleet intelligence liaison, not a Section 31 liaison. Like,
Sure.
that solves all your problems because you can still have all of those scenes with them on their Section 31 ship where they're like, we're doing this mission, this super secret Section 31 mission. But then you say like, well, that's a Starfleet intelligence ship. You know? That would be an easy out. They blew it. There's no way around it now.
I'm inclined to agree that there is a way around it. I don't know why they're making this thing the way it is. I mean, we're trying to figure out why, Pike knows what's going on, and the answer is because it's boring to explain Section 31 every time it comes up to a character for the first time.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot easier to say, "Oh yeah, Pike knows about it," because we know that some people know about it.
But it seems like a lot of people know about it here, you know?
Because, like, the people who've been exposed to it know about it. And then, like, Pike just knows about it. Like, some people would obviously know about it, but, like, the number of times, like, we've been exposed to it and people just go, "Oh, yeah, I've heard of that." It seems too high.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was Tristan Riddell from the Nerd Party who posted something on Twitter where he's like, Section 31 during the Enterprise time period, Section 31 during the Deep Space Nine time period, and then Section 31 in Discovery. Like, wait, what? Okay, seems to be some flip-flopping back and forth here in terms of how much people know and all that good stuff.
I mean, if you're a secret organization like Section 31, you should periodically rebrand. You know,
yeah.
Like, we're not Section 31 anymore. Now we're the Ghost Initiative. I mean, like, some made up nonsense just so that people can't, like, know of your existence anymore. Like, just do a little bit better at hiding, guys.
We just saw one of those holograms again. And I was thinking about this while watching this episode. Another reason why the holograms probably went out of fashion. It seems like they need to stand up in order to do it. Can you imagine having to stand up every time you need to make a phone call? It seems annoying.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the deal breaker. That's what it was. It was like, yeah, let's go back to screens because I'm sick of standing. You know, you can make a hologram of a person sitting. I mean,
that's the same thing that happened to the Wii, right? I mean, people are like, look, fully interactive controls. And people are like, I just want to sit on the couch and use my thumbs.
Yeah, the Wii sold like crazy. It was very, very successful.
Okay.
And Nintendo is still doing motion controls, and they're still very successful at it.
I'm just saying it's not as popular. It's not going to. It's not the wave of the future that everyone thought it would be. We still have the PlayStation 4 with its regular.
And the PlayStation 4 VR headset and Move controllers.
Okay, all right. Maybe it's a bad analogy. I just play MLB The Show, but Giorgio is so cool, you know, hissing like a snake. It's funny.
Yeah, that was a little over the top for me.
I like that because she's funny. Like she seems like a funny person, you know. Like, yeah, she's the ruler of a.
Like, here's the thing: if I'm talking to somebody and like I'm like, oh, back to the snake pit, the snake den, or viper's nest. What was it? I don't remember.
Go back to your snake pit.
And they hiss at me. I'm gonna go. All right, guy. What? No, tone it down. All right.
She doesn't care.
You look ridiculous.
She doesn't care. I thought that was funny. I like that. All right. So, trying to figure out whether or not Tilly's still alive. Gonna head back to the mycelial network.
Yep. Sporopolis. They're gonna go there because Tilly's been transported there. This seems pretty simple and pretty reasonable. Obviously, she's been transported into their universe or whatever. So I was kind of excited about the idea of going into the Mushroom Kingdom. I'm going to call it a different thing each time.
Okay.
Because they established early on, like, it's along different dimensions. Like, it's not using the same 4-dimensional space that we are. So it's going to be super weird if we ever try to, like, navigate ourselves through that space. It's going to be nuts. And I was a little disappointed that we get there and, it's like Pandora, it's just like a forest of, it looks vaguely like underwater sea life, anemones and like tiny shrimp and whatnot. It's like I'm a little disappointed that it isn't more trippy.
Yeah, but there was that whole thing when she first got pulled out of the pod and like the camera was upside down and then it spun around and she was upright.
Yep.
I mean,
this is a great scene. It's really, really funny that she's. I mean, yeah. Oh, that old trick. That's awesome. That's a great line.
Yeah, but I think there's that thing where just like with May, right? You gotta make it visually something that we as humans understand.
Mm-hmm.
On a television budget too.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah, you gotta make something visually, comprehensible to the audience. Oh God, come on, guys, be more crazy. You're off in your own world. I mean, this is CBS All Access. You've got your own rules.
Yeah,
do something really crazy. Try to do like 4-dimensional space.
It would be cool if they did that.
I mean, that's just the simplest version of it.
Yeah.
And I'm disappointed that they didn't go for it.
Yeah.
The moment where Tilly like gets all angry because she knows she's gonna help.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I was trying to think. I mean, I know that's been done a billion times before, but there was some specific example that I was thinking about, which is just like that, and I cannot remember what it was.
For me, the most recent depiction of that emotion that I can think of is Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
When Peter B. Parker like freaks out on the roof and then decides to help.
Yeah. Okay. They also say that's also where she's like, "Yeah, I need you to help me kill a monster." Like as soon as they said that, it's like, "Oh, Culber."
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which
I mean, it's obvious that he's there. It's obvious he's going to come back. I mean, I don't know. Some of this was kind of like, all right, well, we're getting this done. Like, we're doing this part of it. I'm glad that we're getting this done. But like,
yeah, and I'm glad that they did it all in one episode because like there was a moment there, like when they're like, "Come on, Culber, let's go across the little thing and get into our dimension," and then like he disappears. I'm like, oh my God, how many episodes are they going to take to figure out how to get him over to our dimension? Like I do not want to spend 2 or 3 episodes on that. And then they're like, oh wait, we could just have him, jump in that pod thing. I'm like, oh, thank God. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I was like, this, yeah, you got a pod right there, transport him out. And there's this thing about like you needed human DNA. It's like, guys, you didn't really. You rebuilt him in this thing. He's got DNA. Come on.
Uh-oh, look who the liaison is.
Oh, this is the thing. She like looks in there and she sees him and she immediately recognizes him. And then she turns around and I did not know who the heck that was.
Seriously?
And yeah, I didn't recognize him. I just saw like a guy. I saw a beard and I was like, who is that?
Oh, I recognized him right away. But
yeah, I mean, people are not important things to recognize. I mean, it's much more important to recognize like game consoles and controllers than human faces.
Okay, all right. We didn't talk about this, but during the opening credits, you could see that there were 7 people listed now. So I guess if we're going to conclude our hockey analogy trilogy, this would be a power play. Although not really. That's not really what it is, but that's essentially what it is. So
I was going to say it's essentially a power play.
Yeah. So
because of hockey.
Yeah.
You guys know hockey 7 in hockey is a power play.
It's not, but that's okay.
When you got 7 pucks on the ice, that's a power play.
So, yeah. I mean, I know that Section 31 plays by their own rules and everything, but, bringing Tyler back onto the ship may not be the best idea in the world, although it is kind of interesting because where it was left with him was basically, we're cool now, guys. And now everyone's like, and I know it's like different personalities and everything, like Pike was not there when Saru's like, I'm cool with you, but still, it seems a little like they're reverting back to kind of like the idea of like, why are there stormtroopers in episode 7? Like, what's the dynamic here again? Because I thought we resolved that last time. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I also think that from like a storytelling standpoint, like a character turns out to not be the person that they say they are. It turns out that they're actually a sleeper agent working for an enemy government that we're at war with. Okay, but the personality that they created as a cover is sympathetic to us and working with us. But at the same time, this other personality that he has suppressed is somewhat integrated with him, and they are kind of on the same page with like establishing peaceful relations between us and the enemy organization. Oh wait, he quit and he's going to go work for them to keep the peace? Are we sure that anything he said was legit? Like, because there's a lot of stuff going on there. And now he's working with our super ultra classified organization that does shady stuff in the dark, and we don't know what it is. Okay, guys, can you trust him? Like, do you have some sort of technology where you can like scan his brain and figure out what's really going on? Because when we trusted him, he killed a dude, like out of nowhere for no reason. What's the deal with this guy? I'm not completely sold that he's on the level.
Well, apparently no one else is either. And also, I mean, kind of bad judgment on everyone's part of saying, like, let's just walk onto this bridge where this guy is, who's, I don't know, I don't think they were actually married, but they say in this one, widower. So,
I thought they were married.
Okay, well then let's just say they're married. But where's their wedding rings then? I guess maybe they don't have wedding rings in the future.
It's the future, man.
But they have wedding rings in Next Generation era, so...
Oh my God, who cares?
Anyway.
I've never noticed the presence or absence of a ring.
I know, I notice that stuff all the time. Anyway, my point being, you just gonna like bring this guy onto the bridge and be like, hey Stamets, what's up?
Look who's here!
You remember this crazy guy? You remember him?
Oh, I remember when he this is gonna be awkward.
Yeah. Like I there's like this guy at work who I had
murdered a friend and
no, I just had a disagreement of procedure with him, and we stopped talking to each other. And the other day, I was in the mall where he works, and I saw him, and I'm like, I need to go now, just because that awkward smile as I walk past him might be difficult, So,
yeah, I mean,
and that was nothing even important, really. So,
yeah, I get it.
I'm just saying. I really do like when they go on their away team mission, they put on their like special jumpsuits, which have like the simplified collars and gets rid of like all of the, like metallic printing and everything like that. It's almost like their version of like a batting practice jersey, but I think it works well. I like it.
Yeah, it's classic batting practice jersey.
It's like that's what I get the impression that's what they wear on Casual Friday. You know what I mean? So I don't know. And then this moment here where they're just like, well, you're going to do this jump. And they're just like clunk. Like, I love how clunky it is. Like, let's just clunk.
Yeah, once again, I'm annoyed that like it is just like a flat plane. Like the Fungiverse is just like another universe on its own.
Yeah.
That's not what they said.
Yeah.
That's not it's annoying.
You gotta figure out a way to make it visual, right?
No.
Okay.
You don't. You don't need to figure out a way to make it visual. You can say like, there's no way to see this.
I mean, you can say that, but like that's easier to do in like a book than, I mean, you gotta figure out, because I mean, like, isn't that like the whole thing with like Cthulhu? Like, you shouldn't be able to see Cthulhu. And yet,
no, you should be able
Cthulhu
to
stuffed
see
animals all over
Cthulhu,
the place.
but if you see him, it can drive you mad.
Mm-hmm.
But like vague depictions of him are acceptable. You can look at them and you can say, "Oh yeah, he's vaguely this shaped, and he has like limbs and tentacles here."
I'm just saying that, like, based on all the merchandise that I've seen, like, no matter how far you take it, I can't imagine getting to a place where you can't look at it. But whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right. So here they are, half in, half out of this network. And the Jessup, what are they called? Is that what they're called? Whatever.
The Jessa.
Okay, they're just eating that ship like crazy.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna chow down on the Discovery and convert it. This is one of those annoying things where like right at the beginning, May is like, "No, this is the one I told you about. Don't eat her," and then Tilly's like, "Hey, get them to stop eating the Discovery," and she's like, "I don't trust you. I told them to not eat you. I don't know what they're doing here." And she's like, "You were in my head. You saw them. They're
Right.
not here to kill everyone. Why can't you tell them to stop eating the ship?"
It's the same thing with like Culber, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah,
now that we're all on the same page.
It's really annoying that May is just standing there this whole time. Like, you're in the ship that's being eaten. You are now also in danger. Tell them to stop.
I don't think she's in danger.
If you have the authority to tell them to stop, tell them to stop. It's just an annoying thing. Like, they're playing up this like she doesn't quite 100% trust her, and it's like, this is dumb. You can't say, "I don't 100% trust you," and then at the end say like, "But our connection is so important to me. We reached out across realities." And it's like, "Oh my God, I don't want to lose that. It's so important to me. I don't really trust that you don't want to murder me."
Yeah.
That I don't buy it. That bugs me.
Tilly as a soldier here, it's pretty great. Fall in, that soldier, forget behind me. And then her description of the Type 3 phaser, comparing it to the Type 1 and the Type 2. Mm-hmm. It's perfect. Because really that's what it is. Like if like when I've described a Type 3 phaser to people, that's what it ends up being, right? So
yeah, it's not a Type 1, it's not a Type 2, it's the 3.
It's bigger.
Like a rifle.
Yeah, it's bigger and it's, yeah. Anyway, that's pretty great.
So Burnham and Tilly are back hanging out together, and now they've got to go fight a monster. While this was happening, my wife was like, "You have so little time. Like, why aren't you running? Like, you can run and say, 'All right, we'll come back and kill the monster.'" Guys, I get it.
I guess that is kind of a thing, right? That I was thinking about too, like regards to like Culber. As we're like with there's like a ticking clock at the end where it's like, we need to get out of here. But that ticking clock does not seem to apply to Culber in the sense that, like, he does not need to, like, you could just be like, look, we'll talk to you later on. We'll figure out the details, but, like, you don't need to, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can say, hey, May, get them to stop trying to eat him.
Yeah, it's like,
and work on figuring out how to get him into our universe.
Right.
Like, let's table this. You work on that.
Yeah.
We're gonna work on our end, and we'll meet up on Monday. Oh no, wait, Monday's a day off. We'll meet up on Tuesday and we'll have a brief conversation about what sort of progress we've made in the meantime. And we're gonna figure this thing out. All right, is 9 good? Is that early? Let's make it 10.
right, because, she's like, but if we do that, it may work, it may not, but if we do that, then our doorway is closed. And it's like, okay, well, then let's workshop this a little bit more. Just tell everyone not to kill Culber for the next couple hours, and we'll be fine. But
yeah, I mean, okay, your doorway is closed, but like a magic spore came through when they were jumping. Like, okay, how hard is it to do that again? I'm annoyed. I don't like that.
yeah,
It's bugging me. So they're talking about how Culber is here, and it's all weird, and it's kind of an issue. Stamets just ran off to go follow him, and I get that.
yeah.
But this whole situation is very strange. I mean, they're in such a time crunch, and they're not like saying anything about how they can try again later.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe because they can't track I don't know, the location. I don't know.
Oh, and also May seems very confused by the idea that like an alien entity might want to preserve itself by doing whatever it can. I mean,
Well, I think this is something which we've seen a billion times in Star Trek too. I mean, there have been entire episodes about this where it's like, he's a monster, and then you say like, well, no, not really. It's just a different perspective. I mean, that's like that episode of The Twilight Zone, where the little alien
invaders.
The invaders. You know which one I was talking about.
Of course I do.
Like, so, I can definitely see, like, especially if, for the past...
There's an incredible race of giants here.
Right.
Race of giants. He repeats race of giants for some reason.
Well, so like the idea that, after spending, I don't know how long it's been now, a couple weeks, months, I had this all mapped out at one point. With Culber in the, killing them essentially, and then to be like, no, you're the monster to him. That takes like a minute to be like, okay, I'm going to have to completely change my worldview. So I was at work on the day this thing aired, Thursday, February 14th, and my coworker was like, what are you doing for Valentine's Day? And I was like, I'm watching Star Trek. And they're like, is your wife okay with that? And I'm like, yep, definitely. And they're like, okay, is it going to be like at least a Valentine's Day episode of Star Trek? And I was like, no. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, maybe it will be. And it kind of was, right? Because you got the whole Stamets and Culber storyline and all that stuff. And, you don't really get that on Star Trek at all, really. I mean, especially like, Next Generation era. It's like there's no love anywhere on that show, right? For the most part. So it is kind of weird.
It's a lot of hook it up.
Yeah, but, it is kind of weird that... and coincidental that, yes, we did essentially get a Valentine's Day episode of Star Trek on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I gave my wife a sympathy card.
Well, she...
And I wrote in it, you have my sympathy for having a husband that turns everything into a freaking joke.
That's good. That's very meta. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good.
Did she appreciate it?
Yeah, she brought it to work and showed it to everybody. She was having a blast.
Well, cool. Well, that's good. That's good. All right.
I also got her a giant balloon.
Well, that's good too. So here is Stamets convincing Culber that it's okay.
I mean, anytime I have a hallucination and it tries to convince me that it's real, I keep thinking, you keep saying things that I already know. Like, and if you told me something I didn't know, how would I fact check that? Like, how does this work? I don't like the yes, I'm real, trust me thing. It's just not how it works.
They reference the Museum of Modern Art in this sequence.
Yes.
And one of the things which they mention a specific piece of art, and I don't know whether or not it's a real piece or not. I've never heard of it. But I'm assuming that it's not real because I'm assuming that the Museum of Modern Art has probably needed to swap out some of their collection over time in order to continue being the Museum of Modern Art, right? Right? Like you can't have 20th century stuff in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there are different museums in the area to go to that have older art from different periods.
So there's probably like the Museum of 20th Century Art over here. They call it like the Jack Kirby Museum or something. No.
Well, I mean, there's the what is it? The Met?
Yeah.
The Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's not the Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art, but like it's a nearby museum that has older art.
Yeah.
I don't know how close they are. I don't know New York geography well enough. Oh no, wait, it's in Spider-Man. I should be able to figure that out.
In the game?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I know that they had this planned out from the beginning because they made it clear immediately after Culber died, but like if I didn't know that and I saw this, I'd be like, come on, guys. Seriously? You just made that up on the spot. You know?
I mean, I think they kind of did.
I don't think they did. I think they had that plan from the beginning, but I don't necessarily know that it works. I mean, it is very fairy tale-esque, like a tear and a kiss.
Yeah, I'm a little annoyed that because there's this thing about how like the mycelial network, like it deals with information and energy and like all these different systems. It's like a very living thing that has a kind of memory. And when Culber is like allowing them to like break down his body, it's like, oh, I'm going away now. But like Stamets has said previously, like this network doesn't forget anything. Like if you get broken down, you can be reassembled. Like because like there is no like your body can be dissolved, but like the patterns that like are left behind can be reversed and recreate you.
Oh, that's a good point.
So I'm a little annoyed by a lot of the hand waving in Fungus Town.
Yeah. I feel like this is almost a backdoor pilot for the Section 31 show, and I mean, I guess we're going to be seeing a lot more of them in the weeks to come, but, I kind of
Yeah.
feel like the Kirk, Spock, and Bones of the Section 31 show will be Georgiou, Tyler, and Leland, right? I think.
No, I don't see Leland.
Oh, he's got to be in it.
No, I think he's going to be dead.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Because, I mean, like, Georgiou's got to be running the show.
I could see her leapfrogging over Leland.
Yeah, but
Because, I
easiest
mean,
way
like,
to
they
do
just
that
had
would
that
be
line
if
here
he's
where
dead.
he's like, he's like, you know you're not in charge, right? And she's like, whatever.
Yeah, so when he dies, she takes charge. That makes sense.
I mean, I could see her just being like, no, I am in charge. You know you're not in charge, right?
I think either scenario works.
Okay.
So here they are arguing about how these things that are super crazy powerful, they made a consciousness out of another person's brain. Yeah, we can't transport him into your world. I mean, we can pull Tilly out of your world and bring her here, which we've never done before. We just figure that out on the spot. But yeah, we don't know how to get him over there. Guys, they're not motivated. They're not trying.
Well, I mean, part of it, I think, is, the fact that, like she's saying, they're like, this could totally work, right? We figured it out. And she's like, well, maybe not, and like the whole reason is because she knows that that's going to stop her from doing that thing which she wants to do. Like, she's trying to come up with like a reason for it to not work so that she doesn't have to sacrifice what she has.
I mean, it's like when somebody asks me to help them with something at work, and I'm like, I wanted to go get a pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not possible. Is there a way I can make an argument that it's not possible?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it really seems like he's going through a lot right now. I mean, he's glowing from the inside. It's pretty creaky, pretty freaky looking.
It seems
stuff
like
there.
they're eating him, but like, I don't know. I guess he's just accepted his. I mean, you'd think he'd be in like excruciating amounts of pain.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed to be in excruciating pain before when he was covered in tree bark. And now he's like, all right, now I'm not covered in tree bark anymore, and I'm on fire. Everything's cool, guys. Surrounded by spores.
And Tilly's line, I was going to say that I was just worried it would sound weird. Like, that's pretty great. But, I mean, and that's, it speaks to the dialogue in the show in particular, that they seem to have a handle on Tilly's character, where you can have a line like that in this moment of like profundity, but it still works. Works better than you would normally get if you didn't have something like that, in fact.
Yeah. I mean, this is the moment to actually get away with something like that. So, because without this kind of tension, it would seem overly cutesy.
Yeah.
So the Section 31 ship has a really sophisticated cloaking device that can make it look like a rock in space.
They're working on it, They're working on it.
It's both like very impressive and super like cheap looking. Like, oh, they made themselves look like a giant rock. But on the other hand, like, they didn't detect that giant rock was a spaceship. That's pretty good, guys. Like,
Yeah.
let's be honest. That's a pretty solid cloaking device.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that technology would be useful in the future. You can
I
make a
guess
ship
when you
look like
get
a rock.
technology that just completely camouflages you, then that's even better, right? Yeah.
Okay, so you remember when Tyler like tapped his communicator and called the Section 31 ship?
Yeah.
This is where I realized that was a next gen communicator.
Oh, right here.
It was like it happened, and I was like, "What? Oh, who cares?" And then we moved on, and then I was like, "Oh, wait, he tapped the thing. It made the sound. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, Section 31 had those first?
That's what they're saying.
That's weird."
It's cool. I really like the way those communicators, those Section 31 communicators look. I've got one. I like it. I think I'm going to make it my go-to communicator.
Okay.
All right. Now this spore doorway thingy pod is going to turn into Culber. One thing which did bother me about this episode was the fact that Reno is not in it. I mean, aside from just wanting to see her, just it's so obvious that it's like, we couldn't afford her for this episode. We got 7 regulars and Michelle Yeoh. So you know what? She just left really, like as soon as that door opened, she's like, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Seems a little weird after all they went through last week, but whatever. So, I mean, it looks like they've repaired this thing pretty quickly, right? I mean, I'm not seeing a lot of damage on Discovery, but
yeah, but I mean, presumably most of it was on the left side, so we probably wouldn't see a lot from.
Well,
the right.
You'd see it on the spinny thing though, because the spinny thing was spinning.
No, the spinny thing was spinning, but it was in a certain orientation, because the spinny thing wasn't spinning just now when they were moving, because it only spins when they're doing the jump.
I thought, but it was spinning even after they were stopped. So
no, it wasn't spinning. It wasn't spinning when they were stopped.
It definitely was for a little bit, because I remember like seeing it and thinking like, well, they couldn't have had anyone on the spinny section because that was going in and out.
It was only spinning like no one was in the spinning thing because it was spinning around through where it would be, and I don't think that they knew exactly where the spinning like part would be when they hit.
Yeah.
But like it was not spinning when they were like wedged in there, and it started spinning to get them out. But I remember like it like took a while to get up to speed.
Okay.
Like it was locked when they were in the. Did I already do Mushroom Kingdom?
I think so.
All right.
So here we have Admiral Cornwell back in action.
Yeah.
And she's like, you guys have to work together.
Yeah, you know how it is. Classic buddy cop movie dynamic. This guy, he doesn't play by the rules. And you are all about the rules, except when you're not.
Yep.
Yep. I have some mixed feelings about the usage of Section 31 in this.
I mean, the only problem that I have with it is how it contradicts or seemingly contradicts the continuity, which we've seen. I like the idea of using it in the show, and I like what they're doing with it.
Yeah.
Like, if this was its own thing, I'd be like, okay, cool.
Well, like what I find kind of annoying about it is like in Deep Space Nine, they established that Section 31 is this thing, and it's a way of sort of saying like the Roddenberry ideal is very precious to us. It's so precious that some people are willing to break it, and I get that fundamentally, but like there is this like side effect of it which I find kind of annoying, which is it seems like some writers saw that and were like, oh, thank God. Yeah. Like I don't have to play by the rules anymore. Like I can talk about, you know, I can do a story where they assassinate someone. You know, we can do like a Mission Impossible style thing where like they do bad things off the books. Like that, thank God for that. And that kind of annoys me because they've dropped Section 31 so many times now since that. It seems lazy.
I think the way that they used it in Enterprise was kind of interesting in saying, like, hey, they've got like secret agents on ships and stuff like that. What does that mean? And I think the way that they used it in Into Darkness worked really well.
That's where you're wrong.
Okay, but here, I'm not necessarily sure that it works with the original intentions of the of Section 31. Not that it needs to. I mean, lots of times things are used differently than they were intended to be used to great effect. But
like Viagra.
But I'm just saying that I think that it could be. I don't know. I'm very curious to see. Like, I'm very excited about this Section 31 show, and yet I don't exactly see. Like, I see it being a lot of fun and everything. Like, people have said, like, oh, like Mission Impossible, but in Star Trek, and like that idea to me is like, I'm on board with that. I'm on board with like a covert ops Star Trek show and everything. I'm on board with all of that, and yet at the same time, I think, like, how do you do that? How do you make that work? And there have been like these think pieces which are like, well, Star Trek has just completely thrown away its ideals, and they don't care anymore. They're just doing a Section 31 show, and like the creators of that show have been like, that's not what we're doing at all.
I mean, this is the thing that bugs me though, because like it's not like they didn't have access to those storylines before. Like there was like Chain of Command Part 1. Like that's very like spy movie story right there, and like they've done it before. They did it on Deep Space Nine a number of times. Like anytime they were in weird outfits and like going undercover with like the Maquis and stuff. Like it was they've been doing it without Section 31 for a long time. Like the presence of the Section 31 element in a storyline is basically just licensed to let them do bad stuff.
And I don't like. Here's the thing: is like, and maybe this is like a betrayal of what Section 31 is too. But I kind of feel like that's not what it's going to be. Like, it's going to be what a Starfleet intelligence show would be if Section 31 didn't exist. It's not Section 31 so much as it is Starfleet intelligence, and they are going to be running like black ops missions or whatever, but like it doesn't have that sinister quality that Section 31 has necessarily.
We're seeing stuff from next week's episode where they're once again going to disappoint me.
Well, you know what? I mean, it looks super cool. I mean, those aliens look cool and everything. I do want to read one thing which was posted on the Babel conference on Facebook in response to our discussion, which I thought was really, really interesting. So Jason said, I'm not sure I agree that Saru's change from fear-based ganglia having Kelpian was triggered by the sphere. Granted, we don't have all the details, but my understanding is that Kelpians go through this change randomly, and when it begins, they willingly sacrifice themselves to the Ba'ul. I wouldn't be surprised if Saru's father had already gone through the change but didn't tell anyone, as he is complicit in whatever arrangement he has with the predator species. The sphere dying and Saru dying were simply parallel storylines designed to share a theme. I don't think the sphere caused it, but it can be whatever they want it to be or whatever you want it to be. And the idea of like, hey, this is something that happens, and they've just been keeping it on the down low because they don't want their society to crumble. Like, I think that's really interesting. And going back and thinking now about like Saru's dad and Saru's dad telling him like all the whatevers, like, I mean, I guess the only thing which would not hold up there is that if, like, let's say they're all freaking out about something, like let's say they're all watching like Scream or something like that, and then they get scared by the movie and their threat ganglia pop out, they'd be like, Dad, how come your threat ganglia aren't popping out? And I mean, maybe he'd be like, well, I saw this movie before. So I knew that, Drew Barrymore was going to get killed. But I mean, I'm just thinking, that would be like the only thing.
No, keep going. Let's explore this scenario where the Kelpians are watching late 90s horror movies.
I mean,
what did Saru's dad think of disturbing behavior?
Whatever. Regardless, it doesn't matter. I'm sure that we will be talking about Saru's origins more next week, so can't wait for that. But in the meantime, should we wrap this up?
Absolutely.
Okay. Be sure to check out our Discovery coverage throughout the week. Live from the Edge with Bruce and Brandy, Postcards from the Edge with Amy, The Edge main show with Patrick, Notes from the Edge with Chris, and, of course, Tracks from the Edge with us. You'll find all of these in the main feed for the Edge and in the Trek FM master feed. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Discovery, and the best place to do that is in the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook, where Amy Nelson will collect your feedback for Postcards from the Edge. You can also find us on Twitter at TrekFM or send us an email using the contact form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show and choose the Edge. All right. We'd like to thank our associate producers, Norman C. Lau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Puleo, Lisa Slack, Shoaib Mirza, Richard Rutledge, James Muldrow, Cornelia Reutner, Ryan Malett, and Brian Malosh. Thank you very much, everyone, for helping us out. We really appreciate your support. If you'd like to help us keep all of our shows going and even become an AP, visit patreon.com/trekfm for all the details. All right. Well, that's it. But be sure to stay on track.